Hello guys, what's up? Welcome back. It's Will here. Once again, we're back after a 3-week break here over Christmas, over New Year. We're into 2021. The world doesn't seem to be getting any better, especially here in the UK at the moment. Everything is locked down, but we've got fights back. And they're going to be early on in the day on Saturday as well, which I'm thoroughly looking forward to. I'm really looking forward to seeing how this kind of year goes. Betting wise, I'm looking forward to seeing how everything goes. Like I say, it's great to be back and great to be doing prediction videos again. Looking to have a really big year betting wise. I've upped the unit stakes. I'm putting more money on fights now. I'm going to see if I can make some really big money if I can, hopefully, and hopefully give you some good predictions in the meantime. I am going to be doing more on YouTube this year. I 100% believe I can do a lot more on this channel. I feel like I've left some opportunities in previous years. As of yesterday, this is my 8th year on YouTube, which I think is pretty phenomenal to stick around this long. Built up a really good amount of subscribers, and I really do appreciate it. So guys, if you're new, throw a thumbs up. If you're new to the channel again, please hit the sub button. I'm always trying to grow the channel and always trying to speak to new people about fights. That's really what it's all about for me. So, this is a good card to get started off with. I mean, we're back in Abu Dhabi, UFC Fight Island, UFC on ABC 1, Holloway versus Kattar, kind of concluding with Conor McGregor against Dustin Poirier at the pay-per-view. 3 fight cards in the space of a week. I'm getting this out a little bit later. Life is kind of hectic for me a little bit at the minute, and then I'm trying to do all these prediction videos and try to do them in my huddle, which I've got no time for at the minute, unfortunately, with the way things are going. But hopefully you guys are well. Hopefully you're doing all good, and you are keeping yourself nice and busy during this hectic time. Like I say, I am going to be doing more with the channel. At the end of every month, I'm going to be doing a betting recap. Also, guys, if I've got a new webcam here, so if this piece of shit doesn't work, let me know, because it's been a little bit of a bitch kind of so far. But at the end of every month, I'm going to be doing a betting recap, and let's hopefully throughout the year we can make a good amount of money, and I can help you out. I am going to be doing a Patreon. I want to do more stuff on YouTube. I want to do less time working. I'd rather be doing on here, speaking to you guys, betting shows, interviewing some certain people, guests, other betting people. That's what I would like to do. So I want to try and build something up there. I know I've got a lot of people that support me on here, but I put a lot of time into these, like many other predictors on here. So I just want to try and do more, and hopefully you guys can kind of support me in doing so with that. So yeah, I can see a couple of you guys in the chat there. Much appreciated. Let's get into this fight card. I'll be honest with you, these 3 fight cards in the space of a week, we're lucky we had 3 weeks off, but I have been like taking my eye off one card and jumping to the pay-per-view, and I can't stay focused on the one card, which is not really like me. I'm usually one card at a time, but I've got a max bet for the pay-per-view card. I don't really like this card betting-wise. I think the Wednesday card's actually a lot better, but we're going to get into that there because I'm 3.5 minutes into this video and we haven't even spoken about a fight yet. So let's get into it. Great main event, by the way. Love this main event. A couple of fights have fallen off, which is they've kind of moved to the Wednesday card. Tom Breeze has moved over there. Love the co-main event as well, actually. Not a fan of the prelims here, I'll be 100% honest, but we have to get through them to get to the good stuff up top. Featherweights, Jacob Kilburn against Austin Lingo. I'm going to go with Austin Lingo straight off the bat. Not super impressed by kind of either guy. I thought Lingo, I don't want to say he kind of shot himself in the foot in his UFC debut, because we've seen that Yusuf Zalal's actually a fairly competent fighter, and can beat a lot of guys round about this level, and thoroughly beat them as well. We've seen that with Peter Barrett and so on, that he can beat those guys very, very easily. And he kind of used the aggression of Lingo in that first fight to his advantage, got takedowns, had some top position, was beating him up with that long jab that he had. Kilburn, to me, the guy packs a punch. He's got a lot of power. Don't like his ground game. I think he's been kept on his back for long spots in fights, and that's never a good look in my opinion. I'm also a little bit interested in this whole new DraftKings scoring, which is how that's kind of going to work out. So there's a lot of new kind of nuances coming into this new year. But Kilburn, to me, I don't see him as UFC kind of color. I really don't see him winning. all too many UFC fights if he doesn't win this one, if he gets another opportunity. Lingo, in my opinion, I think he can win fights. I think he's a little bit more varied. Like I say, he's very aggressive with his striking. I don't think he wants to stand and really trade shots with someone like Kilburn, because once he plants his feet and throws that long shot down the middle, he can hurt you and he can put you out. We've seen that in previous fights if you go back and watch some of his stuff on the regionals there. So my pick's going to be Austin Lingo, not super kind of confident at the betting odds. What he is, he's like minus 225 the last time I looked. Minus 225 he still is. So it is kind of a little bit crazy that he is kind of that much up there. But I am going to pick Austin Lingo for the W there. I feel a little bit more kind of confident in this one than this one here. This is an absolute shit show of a fight. Sarah Moras against Vanessa Melo. Not a fan of this fight. Was not a fan of watching fights. Preparing to watch this fight, I went in. I watched a little bit more of Melo. Sarah Moras, I just cannot watch. And like talking about betting lines, inflated betting lines, she is what? Let me bring that up because that was kind of crazy to me. Minus 230. No danger am I going anywhere near that betting line. So yeah, but you can kind of see the path to victory for her here. I can also see the path to victory for Vanessa Melo as well, because if she can keep it standing, establish a long-range game, and really catch Moras, she's got terrible defense. She can get hit very, very easily. But when you watch her, she can clinch up, which is something that Melo is very, very bad against. She will sit there. She will let you clinch up with her. You'll be able to get top position on her if you take her to the ground, which I think will probably happen in this fight. But if she has any chance of winning this fight and keeps on the feet, I think she can box the nose off Sarah Moras. I really, really do, but I just don't see this. I don't see how she can keep it on the feet for 15 minutes or large portions of this fight. And I'm kind of fading over to the Sarah Moras side, and I feel horrible picking a minus 230 in Sarah Moras. She should never be that number. I can see why she is that number, but to me, Vanessa Melo, I think that she can get clinched up for too longer parts of these fights, and if she was to go to the ground, I think Sarah Moras would have a little bit more nuances in the ground where she could kind of keep her there and be a little bit more stabilized in her attacks down there. So horribly enough, I'm going with Sarah Moras. I want the dog to kind of come through in that one, if I'm being honest with you. Sarah Moras I just don't like watching her fights, but I'll pick her in this one there. David Zawada against Ramazan Emeev. I think I can't remember who I was talking to about this, but we're comparing. He came to the UFC at the same time as Magomed Ankalaev, and I kind of thought they both had really good trajectories in the UFC to progress himself up there and be contenders. Ankalaev, I can actually see being a top 5 guy in that division. I think he's shown us skills that can get excited to kind of get behind him. He's got some good striking, can do a little bit of grappling as well. And he's really blown off. He's taken off. With Ramazan Emeev, it's really kind of petered out, very boring, not good. Will kind of just do anything to kind of really get to the decision and win his fights through that. Pretty boring guy to watch. Zawada, he beat Abubakar Nurmagomedov last time out, got a nice submission there in Russia, but a guy that you can control, put on the ground. Not the most athletic guy, not the fastest guy, a very game fighter. His fight with Danny Roberts was absolutely amazing. I watched that back a couple of times, and it was just a good back and forth brawl. Danny Roberts is really bad for kind of getting into some of those fights like that. And he kind of against Zawada maybe made that fight a little bit closer than really what it should have been. But like I say, it was a good win for him against Nurmagomedov there. There was a lot of hype on Abubakar coming in because he's obviously Khabib's brother or family member, whatever he may be, because there's that many Nurmagomedovs now. You can't really keep up. To me, I think he's got an opportunity if he gets put in his back here and maybe throw something up. He could catch Emeev. But to me, I just think Emeev's going to do enough on the feet. I think he's going to mix in some takedowns, clinch up a little bit, take the fight to the ground and kind of win a decision. So I'm going to take Ramazan Emeev. But I do think David's a little bit a live dog in this fight here. But I am going to pick Emeev for the win there. I can see some of you guys there in the chat there. Hope you're all well. Jack Attack. What's up? Well, UFC on ABC sounds weird to say. It does, but it's good for the UFC. I think it's from what I hear from America, they've it's not on direct TV, so I think you can actually a lot more eyes can kind of get on it. So, yeah, let's get into this here. Carlos Felipe against Justin Tafa. Carlos Felipe is actually a guy I'm kind of interested in betting wise. I don't like this card for betting. I'll be honest with you. I've got one bet for this card in the main event, on a prop in the main event, and outside of that, there's not a great deal that kind of stands out. Like I say, the Wednesday card, the pay-per-view card, I think are better betting advice, betting events, in my opinion. So I'm kind of struggling for spots here. So it might be a light week for bets for me and look till Wednesday because we haven't got long for that. But I kind of like Carlos Felipe here if he can survive not getting knocked out in the first round. He's got the more experience. He's got the more kind of overall fight experience as well. I think he's done a lot of boxing. He's did certain kickboxing fights as well. Not a guy that... I hate these fighters that kind of sit there, land a shot, and then try to get the other guy to come up and like, oh, I landed that on you. I don't like it. Just keep throwing your strikes and try and hurt that guy up a little bit and piece him up a little bit. But I think Justin Tafa, to me, he's obviously got big power. I think he's got a lot of pop in his punches. You can get at his chin as well. We've seen Jorgen De Castro absolutely detonate one on the end of his chin when he got too aggressive and absolutely sparked him out cold there. To me, I think if he can just avoid Justin Tafa's power shots, I think he can actually work out very well to win via decision. When I looked at this fight back, I think Felipe was plus 180 to win by decision. If I was to make a bet in this fight, I'd maybe lean more towards that. But like I say, I'm not a very good prop better. I'm not there's other people out there that are a lot better with totals and stuff. I'm not really good with stuff like that. My betting record kind of shows that. Something I would like to get better this year, but it kind of got to pick my spots with it a little bit, to be honest with you. Carlos Felipe, I think he's minus 175 to minus 190 in the betting range over here in the UK. If that could come down a little bit, I might be a little bit more tempted, but if I was to make a bet, it'd probably be Felipe via decision, because I do think that he can land more. I think that he can frustrate Tafa and just kind of land on him and go a hard 15 minutes, which I'm not sure Tafa can kind of go a hard 15 minutes, if you know what I mean. So Carlos Felipe via decision for that one there. Wu Yanan against Joselyne Edwards. Oh my God, what an absolute horror show fight again. Like, there's some fights in these next few weeks or these next three cards that are great to watch. Young fighters coming through. Mason Jones, I mean, he's on the next UFC card. Great fight. Arman Sarukian, Conor McGregor, obviously. And then you've got Wu Yanan against Joselyne Edwards. Watch this Edwards girl. I don't think she's all that great. I think she's got a decent chance on the feet. Wu Yanan, to me, I think she's kind of faded out. She has a little bit of a... I have seen her kind of go for submissions, win via submissions, so she's a little bit opportunistic with that there. She's got a couple of losses in the UFC with a one win. She's obviously beat Lauren Mueller. She caught that armbar in China, and another 2 times in China, only knocked over. Mizuki Inoue and Gina Mazany. I mean, Inoue I actually think is a tough fighter. She's not the easiest fighter to face. Mazany, an L to Mazany is not a good look, in my opinion. When I watched Joselyne Edwards, I watched the Sarah Alpar fight. I think it was LFA main event for a belt, actually, at one point. And I was not super impressed. She's obviously coming here on short notice after Betchko Hare kind of pulled out. But I do think she's kind of got the longer striking advantage. But it's just, it's hard to trust anybody here. Just don't bet this fight, honestly. Not unless you clearly see something I don't. But like I said, I didn't look into this as thoroughly as other fights. My one good eye was kind of taken off with other fights that we've got in this stretch here. I'll be blatantly honest with you. So I'm actually going to take a shot on Joselyne Edwards here because I don't trust Wu Yanan, even though she's got more experience. I think she's shown she can finish fights in the UFC, but I'm going to pick Joselyne Edwards. Not confident, one of my least confident picks on the card, but like I say, I have not looked into that one as much as I probably should have, but there's other fights that I prefer to watch than that. And the main event of the prelims, you've got Phil Hawes against Nassourdine Imavov. This was one initially I went in, I thought Imavov's a dog. I think he's a good... I've seen a lot of guys, good cappers that are on here taking shots on Nassourdine Imavov. And I mean, I was impressed with his fight against Jordan. Was it Jordan Wright? Jordan Williams, I think, in his UFC debut. I think that the one thing that really kind of showed out to me, and I went there, I thought, right, I know he grappled a little bit in that one, landed some nice clean shots, kept a really hard pace for 15 minutes. But I didn't like the way he was ducking his head into like potential knees, into the kind of chest area where he could get hit with uppercuts coming through the middle. And And what we've seen with Phil Hawes, I mean, he's got a little bit of a blown-up record with some of the guys that he's fought, but he's shown in his UFC debut, the guy has got a lot of talent. This was the guy that we're hyping up for many years, coming through on the not Ultimate Fighter, on Dana White's Contender Series, fought Julian Marquez, fought tough initially, then got sparked out. But the guy's got a lot of big qualities. In my opinion, I think he's a guy that with confidence, he can grow into be a really dangerous fighter in the UFC. I think he's got wrestling there. I think he's got knockout power. But I am very sketched out about the gas tank if Nassourdine pushes the pace. And he did that. He pushed a good pace for 15 minutes. I watched some of Imavov's other fights, and I wasn't really too blown away with what I've seen in the regional scene. Fights out of France, obviously from Russia beforehand. But like I said, I was kind of interested in Imavov a little bit. Now I watched more of Phil Hawes, and I kind of got my head around it a little bit. And I think I'm going to go with Phil Hawes, the explosive power I like, and if he can put 2 full rounds, like consistent rounds together, I think he can win this fight. I don't want to say comfortably, because you can never really thoroughly kind of be confident in a guy like Phil Hawes, not unless, like I say, he's got all the attributes you want to be kind of confident, but it's hard to be confident in him, if you know what I mean. So, yeah, I'm going to pick Phil Hawes. I've kind of changed my stance on that pick a little bit. I went with Phil Hawes, and that's kind of really over the last week, because at Christmas I started watching this fight and was like, I actually like Imavov as a dog shot. I was actually pretty close to betting him at one point, but I thought, we're 2 weeks out from the event. Don't make bets 2 weeks out from the event. And saying that, I made a bet pretty much 3 weeks out, nearly 4 weeks out from the event for the UFC pay-per-view card, which I'll go on about next week. But I'm going to pick Phil Hawes. I'm actually going to pick him via knockout in the first round. I think he's going to catch Imavov coming in and put him to sleep again. So I've got Phil Hawes for the win there. Moving on to the main card, another great fight. I think there's a really good, well-matched fight, actually. Punahele Soriano against Dusko Todorovic. And another one, initially I thought, Puna has got an opportunity here, I think, to kind of win the fight. I saw the dog odds there, but like I said, I was kind of chilling a little bit, and I wasn't maybe fully having a head on where I wanted to throw money on a fight, not unless I really liked the spot, and sat back, went and watched more of Dusko. And like I'm impressed with like his output, his striking. Don't like his defense though, and like especially against a guy like Puna Soriano, where he fights long, but the head's right there, and like he throws, and he is open to getting caught with a counter shot of Puna. In this one here, there was some stories around Puna regarding concussion issues and stuff like that, which I didn't really like. I've watched some of his previous fights. I think you can literally watch his whole career, where he's got some heavy ground and pound. If he can get you down there, get into a dominant position, side position, where he can rain some of those big hams at you, he can really, really hurt you. And I think he's got some counter striking skills in there as well. But I'm kind of leaning more on the Dusko side, because I feel that if he doesn't land one of these big shots that hurts Dusko early on, I feel that Dusko could take over the fight hard for 15 minutes. Like I wasn't super impressed with is it Teddy Ash, I think he was against, Dana White Contender Series. Was not really impressed with that. The Daquan Townsend one, I wasn't more impressed with that one, because Daquan, even though he's quote-unquote a jobber in the UFC, but he still fought 3 or 4 times in the UFC. The guy, you can tell he's got some big power, and if he was to just have better shot selection, I think he would probably win a couple of fights in the UFC, but the guy cannot stop a takedown. So if you can't stop a takedown, you have that big a hole, you're in deep, deep trouble. Not saying that Puna's got that big a hole in his game there, but I quite like what I see from Dusko. I think that he can be a guy that can progress and be a really solid fighter. But I am a little bit concerned that he could leave that chin in there and he could get caught with a big, massive shot here. So I'm going to go on the Dusko side. That's kind of where I more or less kind of moved my kind of thought process over to liking Dusko in this spot. Don't really hate a shot on Puna Soriano. If you got on Dusko at those early odds, I think there was a -120 out there. I think that's good odds. I know there's a couple of short people out there that got on that messaged me. I speak to regularly regarding that. But yeah, I'm going to take Dusko for the win there. Joaquin Buckley against Alessio Di Chirico. And I'll be honest, I'm not on the hype train of Buckley yet. I really don't. I think that I think there is spots there, and I've been pretty impressed actually with his UFC tenure. Obviously, you've got to be impressed with his win over Sanganai, which is like a rude. I mean, the guy's got a highlight there for the rest of his life. So, and then he beat Jordan Wright. I don't think he was all that impressive in the first round against Jordan Wright, but Jordan Wright to me is a guy who I really don't see as UFC caliber, and I really shouldn't be saying that because I'm not a fighter. I'm a guy that just watches fights, but everybody does it. You can evaluate the fight that you see in front of you, and I just don't think that he brings a hell of a lot, especially in that fight with Buckley. But I thought he gave a good account of himself in that first round, even though he kind of lost it. But once that power comes through from Buckley, he can really put it on you. Chirico, tough guy. Fought some decent guys in the UFC. Never kind of looked out of place in a lot of these spots here, but he's probably fighting for his job. I'm surprised he's really stuck around in the UFC with his last 3 losses, all via unanimous decision against Kevin Holland, Muradov, Cummins. Again, tough guys. So he's accumulated a lot of experience in those fights. Before that, Marquez is a tough fight. Bambosi is not particularly a tough fight, but he's a guy that's been around the UFC for 4 or 5 years now. So he's been around a long time. He knows how kind of things go. I actually think he's live here. I really do. I think that if he can keep these rounds close and not absorb the big kind of power shots, I think that he can maybe edge out Joaquin Buckley here, but he doesn't have the biggest kind of output, which kind of scares me if you're betting in this point here. So I actually don't. I feel like I want to take a shot on Chirico here, but you know what? I'm going to take a shot on Alessio Chirico in this spot. I haven't really picked many decent sized dogs, and I find this a hard card to actually find dogs, but I think Alessio can fight closer here. I'm not 100% sold on Buckley yet. I know he's got a little bit of hype around him at the minute and so on, but to me, it's either the UFC are really setting him up here to get a win against a guy whose kind of confidence must be shot a little bit. But I think if Chirico doesn't eat hard shots, I think that he can absolutely win a decision here. So I'm going to take a shot on Alessio Chirico. I don't think I've got the balls to sack up and bet him in this spot because I'm not super confident that he can kind of be dominant in that spot and do that. But I think if he can get off to a quick start, win the early rounds, I think he can eke out a 29-28 decision if he doesn't get caught with the power shots. So, Moy's audio, thank you for that. Much appreciated. I am brew for breakfast. I am brew for lunch. I am brew for dinner. You know me so well, my man. So thank you for that. Much appreciated. Moving on. So I've taken Chirico, big dog odds there. I don't know if there are many predictors on here taking him, but I'm going to take a shot on him. Why not? Santiago Ponzinibbio against Jianliang. I'm going to go Santiago. I'm really happy to see Ponzinibbio back. If you guys don't know the story regarding, like, he had a disease that was eating away at him, he was losing weight. Like, he could have went down to 155. He's got arthritis in his certain parts of his body, which I got a funny feeling I'll have arthritis. It kind of runs in my family a little bit, so it wouldn't surprise me if I end up getting that. That can't be a good look, especially if you need to stay nimble and fluid with all your kind of bones and all that jazz. But he is a great fighter. Ponzinibbio is a really, really sound, solid fighter. But has maybe the game passed him by a little bit? He's 34 years old now in that division. That's not young in that division. Neil Magny wins over Neil Magny, beat Mike Perry, Gunnar Nelson, Nordine Taleb, solid wins, and he's been pushing himself into that top 10. I don't even think he's a ranked fighter anymore, actually. And he's got Jianliang here, who is always dangerous, always game, but doesn't garner good fight IQ, can be controlled. You've seen the Neil Magny fight where he kind of controlled there. But sometimes when he shows up, like the Alessio dos Santos fight, that was in China, I don't think many people would have beaten him that night. He looked unbelievable in that fight, in my opinion, there. So, yeah, I think that Jianliang will stay in the fight. I think the overall just better fighter is Santiago Ponzinibbio. And if he doesn't come in here showing a hell of a lot of ring rust, then ring rust, cage rust, then I think that he can. I just think he's thoroughly a better fighter once he puts all his skills together. Very, very good with his shot selection, very accurate, good footwork, big power, can end the night for you with a big shot. But like I say, Li Jingliang's a very game fighter and will always stay in the fight for as long as he's in there. I just don't trust his fight IQ. Don't like the odds on him. So I'm going to take Ponzinibbio, even though the kind of cage rust, the ailments that he's had outside the octagon kind of scares me a little bit, I'll be honest with you. But Ponzinibbio for the win. Carlos Condit against Matt Brown. I think I said in a previous video, any opportunity you get to kind of fade, I think it was actually against Baeza last time out, if you've got an opportunity to fade Matt Brown, then you take it. If Matt Brown would just go for a takedown at least once, I would be confident in this spot that I might actually pick him here. But I read an interview today, I watched an interview, he just wants to bang. He wants to come out here, knock him out or get knocked out. That's what he says. I want to knock him out or he's going to knock me out. So I'm like, dude, if you're going to pick that type of fight, I think Condit is the better striker. I think that he's on the feet. He hasn't shown that he's got any chin problems. Where you look at Matt Brown, he's definitely got problems to the midriff. Like if he gets hit there, he buckles big time. And that's something that's not a new thing. That's been coming around for a very, very long time. I mean, the Jake Ellenberger fight was, 4.5 years ago, and he was getting put down with body shots in that one there. So he's been hurt a lot to the body. Like the Eric Silva fight, I think he took a knee a couple of times in that fight there where he got hit with some big shots. So it's always been there. I don't know what the kind of problem with that is regarding he just maybe can't take a shot good, or maybe the shots are just being hit well and he's just catching them right in the breadbasket and hurting a little bit. But to me, if this is going to be a stand-up fight, then I'm on Carlos Condit. I think he's more fluid. I think he's more varied. I think he's more, he'll pick his shots better. But don't get a kind of back and forward kind of swinging session with Matt Brown, because then you're giving him the opportunity to really get at you, because he's going to want to get in there and make it dirty, throw elbows and so on. I mean, Carlos Condit, these are both guys. It's kind of sad the amount of time I've been around kind of breaking these fights down with these guys, that they're now, Carlos Condit's 36, coming 37, coming off a win, which is nice, over Court McGee, which I felt really stupid that I didn't bet that fight last time out. But before that, he was coming off 5 losses. Some great guys in amongst there. But to me, I think he can keep this fight at distance. I think that he can win through that distance, and just don't engage in a knockout, kind of drag him out fight with Matt Brown. If he doesn't do that, I think he can pick the right shots to pick apart Matt Brown. And that's what I see him doing. I'm actually going to pick him via early 3rd round TKO for the natural born killer and Carlos Condit there. And the main event of the night, what a really, really, really fun fight this one is. I must admit, like, I've been looking at this one very closely. Because you see that number next to Calvin Kattar, who's definitely flourishing, moving himself up into that elite role within the position, because this is the first big fight of Calvin Kattar where he makes that definitive step up into your top 5 guys. You can beat your Jeremy Stevens, who's a peripheral top 15 guy, Dan Ige, who's now a top 10 guy. You can beat that, like Shane Burgos, so I think is a top 15 guy. Beautiful knockout, by the way. You can win those fights, but then you have to make that step up to face the elite guys. So your Aldos, your Volkanovskis, your Mendezes of the past, your Pori, your Swanson, whoever it may be, you've got to make that jump. And it's whether you can make that jump. Now, he's got a guy in one of the greatest featherweight champions of all time, one of the greatest featherweights of all time, in Max Blessed Holloway, who I think he's going to be hungry here, because you guys in the chat here, him against Volkanovski, who did you have? Close fight. You can't say it's a robbery. Absolutely, you cannot say that. But I edged it 3-2 for Max Holloway. I kind of thought he did enough in the first 3 rounds to really edge that fight. But it's that 3rd round, which is the big deterrent factor. It's how you scored that 3rd round, and it was super close. So, but like I said, I wasn't pissed. I think I did have a bet actually in that fight. But when I went back and watched it, it's like close fight. You can't really take away anything from Volkanovski. He changed things up a little bit and really got the kind of job done, even though I thought Max did it. But I like some of the things Max did in that fight. Obviously, he showed he can drop the big guys. He's got a little bit of power there, good technique, solid output always with Max Holloway. Can go hard for 25 minutes, which is something that Calvin Kattar's really only did the once against Dan Ige. But again, this is a step up into the upper echelon of this division against one of the greatest guys in the division. But his confidence might be low, and Calvin Kattar is definitely riding high with his confidence here, where he could come out here and cause, I don't want to say it's an upset, because Calvin Kattar's been showing all the signs of making his move into that close to top 5 position. Some of the things I don't like from Calvin Kattar is that he can eat a lot of shots. Max Holloway, obviously, with a lot of output, could put it on there. I think he can be countered a little bit, but I think he's, again, a guy who can actually counter very well himself and can put it on you. Got some power, got some great sort of shot selection. Slow starter, kind of uses the first round to kind of adjust and engage his opponent. And like in some fights, that's really hurt him. There's a beat fight. I do think if that's 5 rounds that he beats the beat over a decision there, I really do. I could potentially knock him out late. Excuse me, guys. But you've seen in some instances, the Bargos fight, the Lamas fight, the Stevens fight, even the Stevens fight, he started slowly before catching him with that shot up the middle and knocking him out with the elbows. His shot selection is very, very good. And that's something that even if you go back and watch the Andre Fili fight, July 2017, his shot selection in that fight was perfect. Fili didn't know where he was coming from with that boxing technique. And like I said, I think he can have a competitive striking affair here with Max Holloway. I just think Max Holloway's going to do more. I think he's going to have more. I think he's going to incorporate leg kicks. I think that he's just going to be better in the combinations. But I do think that Kattar probably has, once he plants those feet, picks the right shot, and if he can catch him with that right shot, can probably hurt Max Holloway, but he is as durable as they get. And I was looking at this as well. I don't think Calvin Kattar, has kind of got the destructive power that Dustin Poirier has. And he stayed in that fight with Dustin Poirier and started to put it on as the fight went on in that one back last April. 2 years ago, actually, it would be now. So, yeah, I think you can see where I'm going with this one. I'm going with Max Holloway to win this fight here. I've got him via decision. But I think that potential for a knockout late on is on there as well. I do think Kattar's got an opportunity to potentially win that fight if he can start fast and kind of keep up with the output that Max Holloway can kind of have. So the bet that I have for this card, the only one bet I have is I've got Max Holloway in rounds 4, 5 or by decision. I got it -110, so I put a couple of units on that. That is the only bet I have there for that one in this card. But like I say, I've got a bet for UFC 257, a max bet. I'm going heavy. My biggest bet ever, actually, it is now. So we'll see how that one goes. I'll get down to predicting that when it comes out next week. I'm going to try and get my predictions out for the Wednesday card, Chiesa against Magny tomorrow. Like I say, this lockdown has completely goosed me with work and people not at work and having to work extra and do this and do that. So, yeah, I'm going to try and get that out for you guys tomorrow. So I appreciate the people that are in the chat there. You guys are awesome. Thank you so much. Like I say, if you're new to the channel, if you can, throw on a wee like and hit the subscribe button if you're not subscribed there. And we'll see where we can take this channel in 2021, because it has to be better than last year. Because, I mean, this year's not started great with all this lockdown bollocks. More stuff added today. So, yeah, you guys kind of keep me sane in here. Fight predictions, year number 8. Thank you for the support as always. Until next time, guys, all the best. Enjoy the card when it comes around. It starts really early in the UK this weekend, so keep an eye on that if you're watching from this side of the pond. And I might be back tomorrow. Keep an eye out for that, guys. All the very best. Take care.